Video. Like to call to order the November 16th, 2023 Board of Finance meeting at 7:07. Welcome, everyone. Sorry for the wait for those of you who are online. We had some paper shuffling to do. Okay. Seating of alternates.
We'll make a motion to see these.
First we did check.
Oh,
Jim's here.
yeah, sorry.
Can you tell us?
Mustache. Did you?
Jim, are you online? If you are, would you unmute and?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Did-
I'll nominate, Bill again for the, MDC second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Okay, thank you. Welcome, Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, do we need to roll call that? No, no one abstained.
If it was unanimous, then no.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's go to the approval of the minutes. Let's have them for October 19th, was it? In your packet, I think.
No, we don't.
Oh, we don't? Okay. Sent them with the email for the meeting. Are you familiar with them or should we? Okay. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I am, oh, should we roll call this one?
I'm gonna say
Okay.
the vote.
Let's roll call this one. Do you want to do that, Lisa?
Stephanie Summers,
Yes.
Jeffrey Crusack,
Yes.
Christina Malhouse,
Yeah.
Joseph Shell,
Yes.
Jim Marshall,
I'll abstain.
Jim Gilligan,
Yes.
Elizabeth Wolf. No, I'm not sad.
She's not seated as an alternate, so you don't need to call.
Got it, got it.
Okay. And any abstentions? Oh, you did that already?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. All right. So that passed. And now we're to present to speak. Anyone in the room first who would like to speak? Lori?
Should I wait until the items on the agenda? That's all I'm here to speak for.
Oh, yeah, wait for that,
Okay.
but anything else that anyone wants to be present to speak, Peter?
Good evening, Peter Latinchich, 97 Grass Road. I appear before you tonight both as a resident and as chairman of the Wellington Republican Town Committee. I'm deeply distressed, disappointed, and outraged at the behavior of this board tonight in what they call a special meeting. It was completely wrong for this board to fill a vacancy in this scurrilous manner when there was no need to do so until the new board was seated. Historically, Wellington boards seat vacancies or fill vacancies when the new board is in place. There was no need to rush that forward tonight. Even worse is that you chose to do this in a manner where you completely ignored, you could ignore me or our town committee. The applicant tonight, who I'm sure is a fine person, may well be a wonderful addition to your board. And it would have been nice for the new board to have that opportunity as well as consider other nominations. You elected not to do that. In fact, you went out of your way to utilize all kinds of legal stratagems and the town attorney and statutes in creating a twisted knot to prevent the people that the townspeople elected to this board to make the decision you made tonight. It clearly shows your disdain for the townspeople. It doesn't speak well for this board, and it's unbecoming of Wellington. Good evening.
Lori?
Lori Santabon. In reply to that, I would say that Peter Tanaka wanted to be first selectman. And I think if you wanted to fill that position, then he should have resigned before the election so that the voters could have decided who would be in that seat. And because Peter kept that as a backup or whatever, and it's now vacated, I think it's fine that they filled that because really, I mean, I know you didn't know if you were gonna be elected, Peter, but really by resigning because you're now first selectman, the voters didn't get a chance either. So I think it's fine that they did this, and I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
One political strategy for another.
Pete?
Pete Tanaka, 125 Mason Road, in response to Lori. I did indeed not resign from this board prior to the election. I could have also opted to resign from this board next Monday and not giving you the opportunity to do this. I didn't think you would. I didn't think that move would be. The expectation of underhandedness on that was beyond my comprehension. So that's why I did what I did and resigned last Monday. Thank you.
Michelle?
Michelle Doucette Cunningham, 41 Liska Road. I just want to weigh in to say that it's important that we have a full board in order to move ahead with the budget season coming ahead. We have a lot of new members on the Board of Education. We have a lot of new members on this board, and it's going to take a while for everybody to get up and running. I think any delay in making that happen would not have served the town well. And there was not any other reason to move forward. We did not hold a meeting in the middle of the night, in the middle of an ice storm in a closed facility, as has been done by other parties at other times trying to subvert the will of the people. So I think that as a political stratagem, this is not a stratagem. This was acting according to law, according to what was able and right, and moving judiciously. I've heard people complain when we don't fill vacancies fast enough. So you can't have it both ways. And I think that everything was done today in a way that was entirely up and up. And I think to have the Republican Party complain that a Republican was appointed to the board is a slap in the face of people who are willing to step up in this town.
That's right.
Because you all volunteer here. You're not getting paid to do this. The other boards in town, with the exception of the first selectman, don't get paid to do this. You want to encourage people to serve this town. And we're never going to agree on everything. Even all the people in one party don't agree all the time. But I think that it's time that we get back to working together and not playing games and saying one thing and doing something else.
I just want to, normally the board does not, engage in public present to speak. I only want to clarify a couple things that I made available to you all. And one is the statute that informed me, which is the state statute 7-343 on filling of vacancies in municipalities on the Board of Finance specifically. In case of a vacancy in the membership of the Board of Finance, unless otherwise provided by charter or special act, the remaining members of the board shall at a special meeting called by the chairman for that purpose by majority vote, appoint a successor who shall serve until the next town election and until his successor is elected and has qualified. That was part of it. And the other part was what I cited to the Board of Finance about my reasoning for this. First of all, we had received a letter of interest from the candidate. And also I said, and Pete had already, resigned from his Board of Finance chair and been sworn in. And in addition to that, state statute and the candidate's interest, a large number of incoming Board of Finance members without prior Board of Finance experience, and the press of the budget season upon us prompted me to act. The next regular meeting at which is the time when the new members will come and be activated. That is not until December 19th, I believe. And I felt that that was a late jump on the season. We can't even wait until, we have a lot of things to do, and with a board with that many new people who have not had much exposure to Board of Finance before, I thought that it just was something that required expeditious action. It was all duly warned, it was all open, I was, it was open to the board what my thinking was. And that's why I did that. Pete, you had another comment?
Yeah, Pete Tanaka, 125 Mason Road. There is no doubt in my mind that everything you did was absolutely legal. However, I believe that we may have set bad precedent by filling a position that's required to be a minority representation commission on this board without consulting the RTC. It would be not unthinkable at this point for any board that had a majority of a party that must fill a position to pick their own person, have them go to the registrar of voters, change their affiliation, and be appointed under that affiliation. It's not unthinkable with this precedent. However, I would hope that wouldn't happen.
Are you suggesting someone did that?
No, I'm not suggesting somebody did that. No, I'm not suggesting somebody did that.
Gentlemen, if this is.
I am absolutely not suggesting that somebody did that. I'm suggesting that it could be done with this precedent.
If I may, as somebody who has spent the last half of a day being a political football, as I said at the last meeting, it's worth repeating again. It's disrespectful to me. It's disrespectful to our
That's right.
new candidate to pull this crap, gentlemen. We need to do better. We need a better start, and
And
this is not it.
There's another, and I really, we can't spend the meeting going back and forth on this. But there was another thing that I wanted to clarify, and that was the statement that we made, big theater and went, and it went and got several opinions and legalities and everything. We only did that at a point where the question was raised about Jim Marshall's term. That was not part of the nomination of Jason Ross. So that's that's a different issue. Yes, when the question was raised by a member of this board, to us, or to me anyway, and that was today, we did check into the term issues and did due diligence so we could carry forth with the board's business. Pete, would you like to say something else?
I'd like to ask for a point of order. And my point of order is, we are in a present to speak segment of the meeting. That is the opportunity for townspeople to speak to your board. You are commenting on the comments of those present to
I'm
speak.
clarifying
object-
misrepresented.
You're doing it again.
information.
I'm objecting to that because you should be hearing from us. And you should not be characterizing or editorializing or commenting on what we say. You have that opportunity in your board comment section, but not this one, with all due respect, Madam Chair.
You sound like you're on the wrong meeting.
Duly noted, duly noted. Okay, is there anyone online who would like to speak? Mr. McCoo?
Good evening, Mike McCoo, Clover Springs Drive. First, just a comment on the point of order. While I understand the comment that was, the question that was raised, there is no rule, which is something we've wrestled with on multiple boards on how we better handle present to speak and interacting with the public. So there is no point of order that was violated because there is no rule that the board isn't allowed to speak. It's just become a tradition. As to the issue at hand about the nomination, I see a lot of the points being bantered around here, but the fact of the matter is that fortunately or unfortunately, politics is often like a chess game. And in a chess game, you learn that if the other player makes a move, as long as it's within the rules that you didn't anticipate, you should tip your hat to that person and say, okay, well played. I didn't see that coming, maybe. The fact that one group or one person or by accident, someone ended up in a position that was disadvantaged to another person or another group, as long as it's within the rules, is just simply a matter of how it's played, or someone did a better job in research. I don't know. The point is, we respect the fact that people are following the rules. We move forward. We can spend a lot of years talking about the history of these maneuvers. None of it matters. We had two very good candidates presented tonight. Jim Bulick is an excellent candidate with great Board of Finance experience, particularly as chair. I was lucky to have taken over the chairmanship of the Board of Finance after him, and they were big shoes to fill. But the fact of the matter was, by the rules, he simply wasn't eligible. Jason Ross is also an excellent candidate. I know from my almost 6 years on the Board of Finance that finding just a warm body sometimes is difficult. Never mind finding a warm body that also is interested and cares about the community and cares about the job and the responsibility of that appointment. And on top of those two qualifications, also meets the minority representation rules. So to me, it's a trifecta. On top of the fact that I know both these candidates, either of them would be good. And what that means is that I would say congratulations to Jason. I think he'll be a great add to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else online? Do you see any other hands up? I'm not seeing the people online either.
If you go to view.
Can't you do gallery?
She can't, but if they put their hand up, they're gonna pop, they should pop it.
Some of them don't know how to
She
do
did
that.
that gallery, yeah. You can scroll down to show non-video participant. And no one has their hand up.
Okay. You want to comment again,
Yes, please.
Pete?
Pete Tanaka, 125 Mason Road, in
Thank you.
response to Mr. McCoo, I must say, well played. Very next move. I acknowledge your superiority in this move.
Let's hear them. Thank you, everyone. So the first thing, I'm gonna dispense with the chair's report, other than to say this is the last official meeting of the board as it's now seated. And I want to thank all the members around the table for their passion and their energy and their pretty fantastic research abilities. I also want to thank the business manager of the town for all of her help for this particular board and your ongoing help in the upcoming budget season. And to the first select woman for her support. Okay, so old business budget status, and Donna, you're on if you don't mind giving a recap of the October report.
You start. Your packet, you have the October report of revenue and expenditures of the general fund. And same as
We're missing that. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay,
There was questions whether or not Mr. Ross should be joining me tonight, but he cannot.
no,
He's not been sworn in.
Okay, so back to the expenditure report and revenue report of the general fund for the month of October. The revenues tracking as last month. The investment income has exceeded the budget. So far this year, we have earned interest income of $114,000. We budgeted to bring in $50,000. the expenditures, no concerns at this time.
And are there any questions about the October report? Any- Why are you frowning?
Oh, no, I'm trying to understand the lines, the investment income.
Yes,
So we budgeted 50 for the whole year and it's already at 114.
Yeah, so 100% rate.
Why?
Would you like the treasurer to explain that?
sure. I will let Laura explain the interest rates and what they are. And,
So we keep the majority of our funds for the year, taxes come in at the beginning of the fiscal year. And we put most of that money in the state stiff accounts. They require us to have the accounts, whether we keep the money in there or not is up to us, but their rates are 5.5% right now, which is way, way above. During the pandemic, it was like 0.01, and they've just come up, and so we didn't make our revenue during the pandemic. We had budgeted, I think, 10,000, and we came in at 3,000 or 4,000. And so we had to budget down, and then all of a sudden the rates just skyrocketed. And we keep most of our operating money there until we need it as we pay our bills. And so the interest has just been really high.
Anything to add, Donna? Okay.
as we will have less money invested as we spend down our tax money and have less money invested and maybe it would taper off.
Thank you. Very good. Other questions? Okay, we're good. So I'd like to do the updates from the Board of Finance representatives on other groups. Christina, do you have something to say about CIP?
Yes.
Tours?
Yeah, so the CIP, we have been doing tours. We did our last one that was on the schedule last night at Public Works. And now we're entering the season where people will be making their submissions. And I know Mike D'Amato is we haven't talked about this, but I guess you told me this, yeah. That he's working on the system for people to send the requests in. And hopefully there's a way that they can do it so that they don't have to rewrite everything. We wouldn't want them to have to do that. From last year, but basically it's like a Google form type thing where the information just gets sent to one place, one database, so we don't have to have 5 stacks of paper to look at everything, so. And we have all the data right there, so we can put it right into the spreadsheet, so. That should help streamline the submission process, and then we just need to do the evaluation process, and we'll likely have our meetings on Wednesday night. All through definitely heavy in January is the big time, but probably starting towards the end of December.
Because they're weekly during January.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And do you want to just recap which facilities CIP
Sure, yeah, so we went
visited?
to the library. We went to Wellington Hill Fire Department. We went to Wellington, both departments associated with Wellington Fire Department. Number 1 on Route 32. We went here to the town office building. Where?
Public Works.
Oh, Public Works.
Last
Yeah, is
night.
that it?
Just last night.
This last night. Yep.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah,
Now put your ARPA hat on.
and I mean, if we get submissions from other departments, like we did not go to River Road. But we know that there is a big project through ARPA that they're working on. So I don't know that there's gonna be another thing. The whole thing is, if we're not getting a submission for something, then we're not gonna go see it. But the senior center, maybe we would need to go there. If somebody submits something, maybe we would go there as a field trip, but,
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have something to update on ARPA?
on ARPA. No, so we are still in the holding pattern, waiting for some of the projects to close so that the money is freed up, so it can be reallocated. And we're kind of at the bottom of the list. There's only a couple of projects that if they were to be fully funded, there's not enough money to fully fund both of them, so, not sure if one is gonna get partially funded, or maybe that more money will come back from something else. One of the big question marks is the River Road project, because that is like a $200,000 project. If it comes in a lot less, then we would have those funds to reallocate. If it comes in a lot more, then maybe we need some more. So, so they're doing we should have a good, an estimate on that soon, that would help. So yeah, so we're just kind of waiting.
Do you have a deadline for people to know, and particularly in the public who may be interested in
Yeah,
adjusting projects?
yeah, I forget what it is, I'm gonna say it wrong.
The project
Rough.
submission is closed.
Yes, yeah, submission is closed, because we don't have enough money to go out for anything else.
But it's December 31st, 24 to encumber the funds, December 31st, 26 to spend the funds.
Thank you for
Yeah, time to more.
reiterating that.
So one more year, so yeah,
So the thing is, if you get money returned, some of the proposals that are on the table will be, will rise up.
yes, yes, and we also have, you know, we have a little bit of a, discretionary miscellaneous fund for, just in case one of the projects goes over. One or more goes over, or, to increase, like the food, fuel bank was one thing that originally we allocated one amount, and then they asked for more for this current year, since the funds were there, we did it, but, and maybe they'll come back asking for more. I don't know. That's the thing, that's what we're trying to track them all, and just hope it all works out in the end.
It's in your
But-
big colorful spreadsheet.
Yeah, and we just don't want to not use all the funds. The
Right.
goal is to use them all. So,
Thanks. Any questions for Christina? Okay. Tim, would you mind talking about the SBC?
Sure.
Where we are with that?
So this will be your last update from me. I'll be around, and I'm sure somebody can keep in as this drags on for a little bit longer. We last met about a week and a half ago, if I recall, where the committee voted to, or move the draft of the final report to the Board of Ed and Board of Selectmen, just for their advanced preview and general opinion. We're not, should they have any comments or feel that there's any substantial errors and omissions, but by and large, it's really just a final check. The expectation is there's very little left for the board to do. We have a number of minutes that need to be processed. There's a backlog there. So I think the expectation is one last meeting following. If I believe the Board of Ed, I have not caught up on that meeting from Monday, but they voted to take a week or so from what I hear. To read the report, assess and provide any comments to the chair. Thank you for the thumbs up. And Board of Selectmen.
We haven't met since it came,
I didn't
it's on
think so.
Monday's agenda.
So the next. There was no meeting yesterday. I don't know what the next official meeting is. I want to say it's 6th of December. It is the 6th of December. At which time, with little luck, it may be wrapped.
Okay.
So
Any questions for Jim? Seeing none. Let's go on to new business. We have a proposal from the treasurer for funds to train an incoming office holder. And Lori, would you like to lay that out? I think you have something in the packet that Lori wrote us.
Yeah, there's nothing specifically in the budget for transition between treasurers. And, there's a lot to learn. And in the past, I believe when Donna came on as treasurer, they paid the previous treasurer as a consultant. So it's essentially, it's a consulting fee. And, but that was after Donna started. But, I wanted to kind of flip that and pay Doug before he starts, partly because I'm having surgery at the end of December, so for a couple of weeks, I wouldn't be available. And, so hopefully I can help him get up to speed a little bit. You know, not saying that he might not need some help later, but, you know, once he gets going in the job, but, I just felt it was more fair to him to offer him a consulting fee, than to just ask him to come in and spend a bunch of hours trying to learn the job before he gets his stipend. So that's my, logic. I don't think we should just expect one treasurer to end and the next one start with no transition, because the software, getting up and running with the different banks, the state banks, the M&T Bank, the library accounts, you know, it's a lot. So I'm just would like to help Doug to get up to speed before my time ends on January 1st.
Just to clarify, you don't mean consulting, you mean a training fee? right?
Well, it's whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was called a consulting fee in the past. It's whatever, you know,
Transition.
a transition fee. I just used, again, I know that the elected officials aren't really paid by the hour, but, you know, we talked about this last budget cycle when, I asked for that to be raised up, and if you worked it out to an hourly rate, because I work about 8 hours a week, it's that hourly rate. And I think it should be done in such a way that he does a time card or something. I don't think we should do like a stipend, here's how much you're gonna get, because he could come in for 8 hours, he could come in for 20 hours, I don't really know. I don't know how much time he has. He's coming in tomorrow, so I'll find out, you know, what he wants to do. And it may be that I'll have to do some of that later in January if he doesn't have, I know he's getting ready to retire. I don't know when he's retiring, so I just don't know what time he has. But I just think it's more fair to him to pay him something for his time.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna open discussion on this among board members. Do you have further questions of Lori or?
I have a couple.
So essentially, you're asking that we pay him to learn how to do the job that he volunteered and displayed that he applied for this position, he knows how to do. But we're gonna pay him to do so.
Who says he knows how to do it?
He volunteered to run.
Well,
for
yeah, and
treasurer.
I volunteered to do it when nobody else wanted to do it back 3.5 years ago, and it's a steep learning curve, let me
Oh,
tell
I
you.
can imagine.
And it leaves the town in a bad position, leaves the finance office in a bad position if you just expect him to wing it on day one.
Well, it's not really winging it. Again, I mean, he volunteered and said, I'm qualified to be the treasurer of the town. The townspeople agreed, they voted him in. I mean, you know, he's gonna receive compensation after he's physically takes over the position. But any learning that is required to fill the shoes, I think should be on him. I don't think it should be on the town to pay him to learn how to do the job he volunteered to do.
Well, I just think it's easier on the whole department, because then they're not spending their time trying to do him stuff when he comes in, because they have their own jobs to do.
Sure, but with due respect, I'm not compensated at all. And on my first day, I had to take it upon myself to learn how to sit in this chair and everything that was going on with the town. That was part of what I volunteered and I said I wanted to do.
Yes, and
because
I
raised
think,
my
and
hand.
You all, I'm gonna just suggest at this point that questions be asked and
Okay.
answers be taken in, but we not like engage in an ongoing conversation there. Anyone else with some questions?
Is there precedent? Has there been prior precedent for this kind?
Not for what Lori is proposing. There's not prior precedent.
it was flipped.
Yes.
The old treasurer was paid after they were done with their term to train the new treasurer after they started.
So that was indeed a consulting fee.
Yes,
This is paying the trainee,
Yeah,
yes.
right?
so I'll just say, I have a problem with putting this forward as like an hourly service for an elected, you know, thing again. I understand there's a stipend for the role. I honestly think it's a good idea to have that transition happen. I just, characterizing it as hourly, where we're gonna punch time and clock, I don't know if that's the best way to approach it, personally. But I'm not necessarily fully against the idea of some training. I'm open to other thoughts.
Lisa? Jeff?
I don't know if I can ask a question, sorry, Jeff.
You-
If
any-
we, I don't know, if we flip the other way, would it be, do you feel more comfortable with it? I mean, Donna did do this with, this year.
Carol Jordan.
Carol Jordan, we talked about this. There has to be some kind of
That's right.
continuity, and, you know, it's, to Joe's point, it's not learning finance, municipal finance per se, it's the nuances of, the office, it's, the password, get your name on the check, there's a lot of things you got to do.
Yeah.
The software,
Right,
learning the
so,
software.
I have no issue. I mean, if it was the opposite, if things were aligned a little bit better, if you were the quote unquote, consultant, maybe that would have been better, but, you know, it's how.
And I might need to do some of that, I don't know, but I'm not gonna be available for a couple of weeks in the beginning of January, which is when he's taking over.
Right, I think it's forced.
Lisa, do you want to come?
If I may,
Yes.
I just, I think to Jeff's point, and what Lori has said, personally, I know what it means to transition a business role for a budget that this town has of what, 20 million, 5 million, whatever it is, this portion of the town. It's large enough where having some organization to the transition is best for the townspeople. And so I don't find it to be upcharging the town in any stretch of the imagination. I think Lori's being thoughtful.
Yeah, and I
think
have to
she's
say,
not gonna
it's
be
actually
available.
gonna take more of my time to train him before I'm done, and I'm not getting paid any extra to do that. But I'm offering to do this because I
Right,
know I'm not available for the first couple of weeks.
because you
of
care about the town of Wellington and you care about the seat transitioning well, and I think that's what we have to focus on here.
Okay. Is there anything
I-
else?
I just worry about the precedent of it and, you know, when I stepped in as first selectman, I had no training. I mean, I had nobody to train me. And then Erica really didn't either, and I don't think Peter does either. That,
But
And
is
that's-
that good?
Well,
it's not good, but there's no way around it. It's an elected position, which is what the treasurer is. If we don't want the treasurer position to be an elected position, that's a different conversation. And that's the problem, then maybe it shouldn't be elected. But that's not our situation right now. So I just. I don't know.
I'm concerned about that, and we should clarify, this isn't budgeted. So we're talking about an unbudgeted idea here, which doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. But my concern is it something that we can administer evenly across the town? Like, for instance, if a town clerk does not have this kind of passing of the baton, then, you know, it doesn't follow what we're setting up here. You know, if a new town clerk comes in, that's different now because it's staff. But when it wasn't, I'm not sure that training was.
But even in that situation, it's just like any other job where someone might resign, they give 2 weeks notice.
Mhm.
It takes you a month to fill the position, so it's empty, and then the new person comes in and maybe they know what, you know, knows the basics, what they need to do, or maybe they don't, maybe they need to get special training somewhere else,
Mhm.
but I don't know.
I
But have
beg
they-
to
have
differ.
they been-
This means whether or not we're gonna be paying our bills next
Right.
week. I mean, the new person has to have their name on all the bank accounts. They have to transition all of that. They have to know how to move the money. They have to know how to use the software. And if they don't, I mean, I know we have a very competent finance office, but I'm doing this because it's not fair to them to ask the three of them to step in and do all the work. And they can't do some of it because they're not signers on the accounts.
So are we saying, and I'm asking this of the board, are we thinking this is unique? That the treasurer job is unique in this way?
No,
Well, I think they're all. And I don't think just because somebody had a hard time.
I'm asking for, for the possibility of how far does a policy decision on this affect other elected jobs?
What I'm hearing as a taxpayer is not that it's okay. It's not okay to say, well, I had to land on my feet, so the next guy has to. We're never gonna move forward as a town if we keep having that type of.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm saying.
And to speak to what Peter's saying, and Peter, both of them, where they wanna get a collaborative approach coming. I mean, I just think it's silly. We have money. We certainly have a ton stocked up from tax collection. It's just ridiculous.
Erica, do you comment?
Certainly the decision is yours, but I want you to think about the work that this board specifically did, along with discussions at the Board of Selectmen about separating the treasurer from the finance department and their roles and responsibilities. In the absence, in whichever way you do it, if you choose to go that route, in absence of some sort of formalized training, there will be work to be done and to be learned, and it will fall to most likely our business manager. So I would like you all to ask her opinion on the process and get her to weigh in on that, because we're going to start commingling a little bit, because he won't have any idea. I see what Joe's saying, but it is very different than coming and learning the work of, as a board member. This person is responsible for investing the town's money, and I just don't think we should throw them to the wolves. But I think we should hear from our business manager where her opinion lies.
She's always welcome to comment, but I'll specifically ask you, Donna, where you lie on this.
Thank you, Steph. I think that we are going to be getting a professional coming to the finance office. He's retiring from a job, so he has work experience. So I think that it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. And the idea of paying two people a stipend to do one job is a slippery slope. And I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay. Is there other comments or discussion from the board? Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I just don't think he should be compensated to learn how to do his job. I just don't agree with it.
I think that, because of the stipend, if he comes in and to learn now, I think it behooves him to do that. If he wants to do a good job, that's what anyone would do, is come in and try to learn what they can do. And if he needs help afterwards, and we need to ask you to come and be a consultant to him or whatever, I think that's a different conversation. That's a different thing altogether. I don't want to have a problem with that. It's just the reverse part of it. I don't know.
Okay, is there a motion or?
And so can I just ask one more question?
Yeah.
The question I have, is will Willington stop without the signatures in place? So if Lori leaves and he comes in and the bank says, you can't do anything until Lori comes back and transitions, like, is it gonna slow things down, or Donna, do you have access to that? Are you the watchdog, or does everybody have the same signature power?
The signatures are gonna be in place for Tuesday, the 21st, because it's the Board of Selectmen. Lori is in place until January 1st.
Oh, okay,
So,
got it.
Reckon like we've never transitioned before. It's happened historically.
I have one more about it.
Yeah, one more question.
One more question,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Is he refusing to learn how to take over the position without compensation? Okay, thank you, that's it. Okay, that was just based on.
The software is very complicated, and everybody in that office got a lot of training on it. And yeah, I guess he can figure it out, and
Well,
somebody will have to help him.
But he could, if he's paid or unpaid, he still would have to sit with you and learn some of these nuances anyway. So even if he's paid or unpaid, he'd still want to, behoove him to do this for the town. You know, I just don't see why we would have to compensate him to do the same thing. I mean, you're the shoes he would be stepping into.
Okay, I'm gonna ask if there's a motion to, on the floor for, to advance this, or? Let's see, that's something.
For the sake of, conversation, I'll make a motion to. Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Donna, can you,
where does it come?
yes, there is, I don't have it. with me.
There's money in the budget,
There's-
there's about $1,300 that's gonna be turned back.
And that's from the RV,
Yes,
from,
it's in
they did not
capital
spend the full
expenditure.
15,000 that Wellington Fire
Yes.
Department won for the RV, so there's about 1,300,
Yes. So if you're looking for money for a stipend,
if you
you
want
could
to.
transfer it.
Do you know what that would be
Yes.
from and
The line
to?
item.
Yes, you'd be transferring from 0930 to 0132. So it's from capital expenditures to the treasurer.
In the treasurer's account?
Yes, the treasurer's account is 0132, and you could transfer up to $1,300.
We do without you, Don.
I'm sorry,
What would we do without you?
who would do that?
Okay, Jeff, did you get that?
Yeah, I'm not John Pat, so what was the first, 09?
09 capital expenditure.
I'll make a motion to transfer up to $1,555.20 from 0930 capital expenditures to 0132 treasurer.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jen.
Yes,
Any further discussion?
The question, Donna, as you deliberate,
Sorry.
their motion was to transfer up to,
Yeah, it has to be.
thank you.
It has to be an exact amount for the transfer.
That's what I thought.
An appropriation can be up to, but a transfer has to be an exact amount.
All right, I'll amend that to be $1,000.
Even Stephen, $1,000. Thank you.
Clarification question, are you? Is it for, to help with the transition, in which case it could be used on the front end or the back end? It could be,
Well, yeah, so, all right.
Good question.
is that right?
Yeah, well, I got nothing to, yeah, so.
That just increases the department amount. That's all.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to clarify that. Or,
Okay,
Do the same.
for the purpose of treasurer training? Is that good? Treasurer transition?
Okay.
Yes, no?
Yes, $1,000. Yeah, that's
Maybe
good.
you should maybe define it. Is it gonna be, is that gonna be a stipend? You know, or is it gonna be, is he gonna be accountable for the time if you?
Well, that's why, yeah, that's why I first said up to, but now you're throwing.
What's gonna happen if Lori comes after Jimmy's office and she's gonna get $30 an hour? There's.
Yeah.
Or are you,
No,
you
we've
know,
got
thinking,
$1,000.
Well.
Why can't it be,
It's
why
kinda
can't it be
tricky.
up to a certain?
I knew the answer, but yeah.
well, how much am I gonna transfer? If you tell me I can transfer up to.
Transfer.
I'm gonna move. money
So the
from
question is,
Well, cause one of them would be paid by the hour. So how much they use would be the final
Right, it's a question of how much time is put in.
Yeah.
I think that's the flexible part, and that's why it's hard to transfer it up front when we can't predict how much would be needed. We also could go the way that we, unless you want to continue with a firm motion on this, but we could go.
It's as garbled as it gets.
We could go away where we, you know, put a finer point, you know, it's not like we're in different towns on what the availability is, what the need is, and talk about whether that's done now or whether that's done, you know, after he's in office and Lori would be a consultant. Why not clarify that before we do it? Unless I mean, what would happen if it's underspent? Would it revert to capital
It would stay
expenditure?
in the treasurer's line item. Just to put things into perspective for you, the monthly stipend for the treasurer is $914.
Okay,
So, you have something to compare your $1,000 to.
did you have a comment? Okay, because I'm seeing your face and I feel like you do have a comment, but all right.
Jeff, I hate to do this to you, but I have no idea what the potential amended.
I'm gonna withdraw mine.
Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to transfer $1,000 for treasurer transition. From 0930 to 0132 to be used after the new treasurer starts and based on for consultant training.
I'm just saying they don't have final.
Something like that.
Did you hear that? Do you,
My
okay,
question
is there a second? I'll second. Can you read that back? Thank you.
motion to transfer $1,000 for treasurer transition from account 0930 to 0132 to be used after the new treasurer starts for consultant training.
Was the hers or yours? I like that. Thank you.
Yes, my clarification is the Board of Finance has department level control, line control, not how it's spent within the department. So your motion is very specific on how they spend it, but I'm not sure that all part of the whole.
Yeah, and I guess my,
It's a separate department, but if you gave them $1,000 to the Board of Selectmen, they could spend it however they saw fit. If you gave $1,000 Public Works, the department spends it, you direct the money, so I just wanted to clear that.
my thinking is whatever training he needs, if it's,
The treasurer's department, you're transferring to the treasurer
So it
department.
should be, yeah, so you're saying it should be less.
No, I'm saying you can say the description, but I don't know that the department can spend the funds. You don't have control over is that correct, Donna? Right, they have department level.
Department level control.
Right. I hear what you're saying, I know what
understand
your
that overall
intent,
thing, but
I don't want
we're
the
dealing with the proposal being brought to us that has a purposeful nature to it.
correct,
So we're discussing,
And if the money's not spent, then it's just in there. If it's
Right.
not spent.
but they're saying after you leave office and it can be used for a fee. You're thinking of the reverse of what Lori's asking for is your intent.
right, or if he needs to go to some specialized
Correct.
training for a day, whatever.
Right.
There's money there to pay for that.
Yes, it's a good idea because the software has consultants and if he needs help with the software, he could, work with a consultant and use the money for that.
Yeah, or, And then usually if we were gonna hire a consultant to come in, if Lori came in, it would be she'd make up a proposal and it would say how much, what she would be teaching, what the output would
And it
be.
could come.
I
out
think
of
my
the
only
treasurer.
point is it's not the Board of Finance's directive to
Right.
determine how the funds are spent. That's your guidance.
Right, yeah.
That's all I'm saying to you. You're making it very specific. It may or may not be spent like that.
Wouldn't it make more sense then to wait and see what he actually needs for education and consulting afterwards?
And then wait 3 months, 3 weeks for the next Board of Finance meeting when he might need the
Well,
training.
there's nothing to say that he can't in his own time. Look to sit with you and you get, you know, at least the base.
I've been coming up with kindness of my heart after my term is done.
Well, the money would be for him anyway, so you would still be out of the kindness of your heart helping him get up to speed now. I mean, I'm not asking
I'm out of
after he
commission
sits.
for 2 weeks at the beginning of January. I will not be available. I'm not gonna come in here with my walker.
No,
and sit
no,
next to
nobody
you.
would expect you to, absolutely not.
Okay, so I'm just telling, that's why I flipped it, is because I know I'm not available.
Your expectation and the possibility that the money is. How the money is used is not indicative.
That's pretty much true of anything that we do
That's
on
everything.
good faith.
Yeah, and there's
Correct.
always that gray area.
I'm just making a clarification point, not arguing which way you should go. I'm saying, look, I asked you to take her advice, so, but if your expectation is only spent one way and it's spent another, it doesn't make it wrong, it just. That's all.
Comfortable with the motion and stand.
Yeah, but I don't think it was seconded.
I seconded it.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready to vote? Feels like we've had plenty of discussion. Any further questions? Ready to vote? Okay. Could you do a roll call, but don't go in the order you did, move it around. Well, do it more, rather than just top down the same way every time, do it another way.
Go backwards?
Sure.
Yeah, right, why not?
Lisa.
She's not seated.
He's not seated.
No.
Jim.
No.
Oh, Jim,
Which Jim?
oh, wait, there's two
Jim Gilligan.
Jims, okay.
Jim Gilligan.
Thank you. He said no.
No.
Jim Correct. Marshall.
I don't even know on this too.
Joe Sherrill.
No,
Christina, no. Yeah. And Jeff Brissett
Yes.
and Stephanie.
Yes,
That's a good point.
We have 3 opposed and with 3 in favor.
motion fails for lack of a. Thank you, Lori. Okay, let's go on to the public works request for a used street sweeper purchase. And you have your note in there from the first select woman.
Our, making sure he's not on, our public works director had a personal, conflict tonight, which is not, I was gonna try to attend, but I didn't see him. So the request before you is, for funding for a youth street sweeper. It is CIP project in this current fiscal year. The proposal that was, approved at the Board of Selectmen meeting on November 6th was to award the purchase to Chadwick Barrow in the amount of $80,000. You have, the item in front of you. It's a 2012 Elgin Pelican 3-wheel street sweeper. It is from the town of New Canaan. They are on a very strict 10-year CIP plan, and so they traded this in and it became available. We became aware of it. We currently have a 28-year-old street sweeper that we bought 4 years ago for $5,000. This does include with some equipment, it does include $1,000 trade-in on our very special 28-year-old street sweeper that has done us good, but it is unfortunately not worth much, but we are trading it in. So we would not be keeping it. So I'm asking the board to consider a recommendation that the Board of Selectmen, and it will not be the current Board of Selectmen, it will be the new incoming Board of Selectmen, call a town meeting to appropriate, and you have a recommended motion there. I'd be happy to answer any question.
Air conditioning, huh?
Most of the new equipment has that in it.
Yeah.
It surprises me every time I see it.
I just, for the purposes of discussion, I'm gonna go ahead and move that we consider, that we recommend that the Board of Selectmen call a town meeting to appropriate 80,000 from Capital Reserve Fund to 04-4051 for a used 2012 Elgin street sweeper from Chadwick Barrow. There a second?
Second.
I think Joe was first.
That's the question.
Yeah, did someone have a question?
I do.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I just sounded like I have a question, actually. There was another document that was included and that was emailed to us that gave some, hours of mileage on that vehicle. I'm just trying to get a sense of. This is a 10-year-old piece of equipment. Our last one went 23 years. I have a use hours
We
on
had it
here.
4 years.
Sorry, yes, you're right, but it was 20,
Yeah.
whatever it was. What is the expectation? Do we have, or did Troy give any sense of, what the use hours could be, or the typical service life is for a piece of equipment like this?
Yeah, I apologize. I don't have the answer to that in front of me. But that, we typically now sweep just once a year. There were times where we would sweep multiple times a year. This certainly is a more efficient, product. It has dual brooms instead of a single gutter broom, on it.
Yeah,
I just don't, the
Yeah, I was just
expectation is
curious.
this would last us at least 10 years. At least, if not more.
I don't know what 3,921 use hours is for the equivalent, duration, nor have any way of judging it, but I assume that Troy is on board with the vehicle that he feels will be suitable for the needs.
Yes,
Or
and
just
just,
the duration of time that makes this worth the purchase.
and for comparison's sake, a new sweeper, runs somewhere between $280,000 $320,000. So this sweeper would, bring this project into $20,000 under budget.
But it's conceivable based on what he said during the VIP tour yesterday and just the experience that these could last 3 decades.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
10 years
Remember,
sounds light.
it's already-
10 years
Right,
left.
it's already,
Sounds light.
right, at least, that's why I say at least, right? You put them in a 10-year cycle and then you adjust as you get closer. So I don't want to speak for what a future Board of Selectmen or Public Works Director will recommend or what this will do, but at the very least, you would get another 10 years out of it to bring it to 22 years old. We're using one that's
Okay.
28 years. I would
Right.
assume that
Okay.
life could be extended if cared for and maintained properly.
Thank
That's
you.
the background I was
Yeah.
trying to get at that question.
Are there other questions? Are you all prepared to vote now? Okay. Roll call vote on this one. All in favor, and then. Or, no, I'm sorry, just a roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Any order you want.
Any order? Okay, Lisa.
Oh, she's not seated.
I'll go Jim Gilligan.
Yes.
Joe Sherrill.
Yes.
Christina. Yes. Stephanie.
Yes.
Jeff Kruzak.
Yes.
And Jim Marshall.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all, and then I don't know if you have both calendars, but they're draft calendars because the new board needs to be the ones to act on these, but I felt like you all needed to have, or that it would, the people who are carrying over on the board, and the business manager, she and I worked on this together. as a draft calendar for the budget period. And also I wanted to get the Board of Finance regular meetings on a calendar as well, because those will be coming up sooner than you think. They're generally the third Thursday of every month. I don't think there's any alterations from that. On the budget calendar, last year was a little different because the school issue was going through, and we kind of did a little bit of a train wreck in the budget season, because we opened up a night where we could talk specifically with, hear the SBC presentation and the school superintendent. So Mike McCoo and Phil came in and explained what was going on with that. And I felt like the Board of Finance had not had a good front row seat with opportunity for questions, so we sort of moved that off. I think it was February 16th, and then we put a couple of nights together. We squished them together, and it was sort of a long night. Those of you may remember who lived through it. So this spreads it out a little bit more. It separates the elected officials' budget presentations from the school presentation. I think those were on the same night last year. Starts the season on February 1st and goes through until, through the presentations, with the big ones at the end, the BOE on February 22nd, Selectmen's budget on February 29th, and then the capital improvement plan and the revenue presentation on the same night, March 7th. And then we go into discussions March 14th, with appropriations March 21st, and then a sort of snow date or spillover date for more discussion on February 28th. The town budget hearing, which is at the Old Town Hall, is on April 9th. And then 2 weeks later is the annual town meeting, which precedes, there's no vote on the budget there. It's sort of the precursor to going to town referendum 2 weeks after that, on May 7th. And that's the big culmination date when the voters come and vote on the budget. So that's a recap. Does anyone see anything that that maybe even if you see something that you're kind of wondering, why have we always done it this way? Is there a better way to do it? I did a couple things like move the emergency management director and up by emergency preparedness, since he's related to both. And it's a short presentation rather than have him sit through till the end and listen to both fire departments and the fire marshal and the ambulance payroll. Things like that, just as a sort of flow thing. That was otherwise not a big thing.
Can I just ask one question?
Yes.
The date that you have for the referendum, did you, kind of either match that up with Region 19 or the registrars, just to be sure that date?
I did, shot Robin, from the dates. She didn't get back to me, but following the statute, the referendum is the day following the Region 19 annual town meeting, which is the first Monday or Tuesday in May. So following that and the other statutes, I counted out the days. So I think I have given you good dates.
We can redouble our efforts to double check everything and make sure it's really firm. And we're not voting.
Yeah, it's really a matter of calendar.
That.
And sometimes there was 1 year, and I can't remember how the
Yeah, I
calendar fell.
remember.
It was a Wednesday instead of Tuesday, because of Region 19.
Okay.
So I just want to be sure.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah. Any other thoughts from anyone on the board? Okay. Comments? All right, I think I just wanted to get that on your radar. So correspondence I've shared with you as I've gotten it, including the very late nomination tonight. And can't think of any other correspondence other than what I've already shared with you. So let's go to present to speak. Anyone in the room first? Is there anyone online who's present to speak? I'm not seeing anyone, but I'll give them a minute so they can put their beverage down and get to their unmute or their hand. Okay, going once, going twice.
And
Yes,
I just, Erica Waschinsky, want to take a moment to thank the board for their work. It takes a tremendous amount of time and effort to manage the finances for the town, and I appreciate all that you do. I want to thank Joe, Jim, Lisa, and Jim Gilligan for their work over the last 2 to 6 years, however long you have each sat. And congratulate those who are new to the board, and remind us all that the successes of our successors are our success. We all live in this town, and the way in which we conduct ourselves is important. And think about that as we move forward. Thank you.
thank you. And Jim Gilligan, I owe you a cupcake.
Why is that?
Oh, because we had a little last night of the existing board kind of frolic here. So it's right here if you could come and get it.
I wish I could have made it.
I'm gonna move on to good and welfare, which is really that. I wish everyone well. I've enjoyed working on this board. I am moving forward onto the newly constituted board, but just individually, I'm very much gonna miss Joe's knowledge of auto financing and vehicles, because it's deeper than anyone that I've ever seen in action on this board, but also just kind of the to the point objective question that I frequently hear from you. Jim's expertise, and especially on the facilities end, and willingness as a fairly new guy in town to volunteer on multiple boards and offer what gifts he has. To Lisa, who I've known for a long time and has served on other boards of finance, and has a remarkable passion and grip on the issues, but also the history of town,
Challenging.
and is unafraid. So I just want to say that, and I will miss your participation as a group, but I know that you're all going to find ways to be involved and step up wherever you are engaged to. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else on good and welfare?
Just say thank you, staff. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure
Sure
working with all of
is,
you. No, I will say, I just hope, even though it's been a short time, I hope moving forward, I wish the best of luck to the new incoming boards. I hope you know what you're in for as well. I'm gonna point at you, Jason, because you're here. But thank you for stepping up. And I hope, we work together, openly and honestly, and really, and I'm looking at you gentlemen because, I really hope we can address the infrastructure needs in this town together in some way, shape, or form, and really address it seriously, and that you guys as a board, can really start to tackle it honestly. Or it's gonna get worse. And the cheapest option is not always the best. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
In
Thank
6
you.
years, one time I'm unopposed attorney.
What's that?
My 6 years, only one, as a first selectman, one time, so unopposed attorney.
It's not one.
I can't remember. I
Yes, they were.
Anyway, I'm not when they did one stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
When Cory was talking about the rate.